Okay, so one thing I've noticed about this Nara Smith situation, and no one else has called it out, so I'm gonna say it. And if you don't know what I'm talking about, Nara Smith is a content creator on here. Y'all know who she is. She make everything from scratch and some Chanel. But recently, it's been a young lady. She's in South Africa. I do not know how to say her name, so I'm gonna call her Miss O. Miss O had called Nara out saying like, yo, you biting my fucking style. Now, everybody's picking sides. Now, most people are looking at both content talking about, I don't really see the correlation. But there are some people that are diehard. Nara Smith is a thief and she needs to be called out for it. Now, I'm gonna be honest. I looked at both pages and I don't see a correlation, but I do see a correlation that everybody who thinks that Nara Smith is guilty, they fall in one of these 4 categories, right? And I'm not trying to be mean, but that's just what I've noticed. They are either extremely anti-religious, they don't believe that biracial people are black people, they don't believe in interracial marriages, or they're the eat the rich type of person. Without doubt, everybody who I've seen say that Nara Smith is wrong falls in one of those 4 categories, if not all of them. And not to say that y'all are purposely lying, but what I'm saying is hard to believe that someone that goes against your entire belief system, at least on social media, what you share to us, like you're quoting Dr. Umar, you hate religious people, and now you want me to believe that you looked at Nara Smith content unbiased? I don't believe it. My personal opinion, I feel like a lot of y'all been sitting around waiting on a day for this biracial, married to a white man, rich Mormon.
What's up, y'all? So I want to talk about confirmation bias in this quick video and Nara Smith. And so I don't be on TikTok much other than like a quick scroll or something. So I'd seen, Nara Smith's like post around stuff like that, but I wasn't too in tune in the drama until it was covered over here. And so when I saw this video on TikTok, I was like, oh yeah, this is exactly right up my alley, because it touches on exactly a lot of what I talk about here. I suspect this woman's probably, a psychology degree or something, because this is right on the money. And I definitely, without even knowing the situation and just, knowing from the little T videos that I've watched what it was, I could definitely get that vibe straight off the bat. And just knowing the nature of Nara Smith's content without, and I've never even been to this girl's page, but I know what type of content she makes, knowing the type of content that she makes and what she represents, and in contrast to the woman, the accuser, I don't even need to know the details to know that this is a prime situation for colorism Inc. And that's why I use this term, because at this point there's a pattern of events and a pattern of behaviors from certain individuals that play into this stuff. And I'm really happy that a lot of people in the public are starting to see that. And it often takes a very obviously biased or imbalanced situation for people to be able to see it. Oftentimes we get these very nuanced, difficult, character situations where the person, is in the wrong themselves, so it doesn't look as obvious as and biased as it does. But in a situation like with Nara Smith and the South African woman, it's very obvious that this is kind of like just some hateration. And not to just like dumb it down to just being hateration, but it's very obvious in this situation that they really don't have a real issue with her or a real reason to have a problem with her, but it's very clear that they just don't like what she represents. And so to me, this is a clear example of confirmation bias, because based on the imagery I have on my screen. So the first thing it says not seeking out objective facts. So objective truth, I mean, if you look at the situation just from the outside looking in, it's very trivial. It's just an accusation. Anybody on TikTok could be doing anything. I see people making boba and all types of little, quick little American snacks all the time. So it's a strong accusation. And, there's also a constant narrative that, whether people want to admit or not, there is, especially recently, a narrative that biracial women are taking from black women, and, they're getting the praise and they're getting the attention from it. And, that's where the whole erasure thing comes from. And that kind of directly connects to what the girl was saying, that, if you check out the list of personality traits a lot of these people have, that not only are coming from Nara, but tend to be the drivers of these conversations. We're not talking about people who occupy a certain skin tone. We're not talking about people who occupy a certain ethnicity or race or anything like that, but it is about a mindset. And so that's what I really liked about her video, is that she's pointing out a pattern of kind of like ideologies and thought patterns within people. And it's just a clear example of, like I'm saying, confirmation bias. And that's one of the most layman's way to put it. And so because people already feel some type of way about the imagery and the aesthetic that she represents, not only racially but also the wealth, you know, the housewife, the trad wife-ish kind of situation. That's actually how I first heard of her, because in feminist spaces they were talking about her trad wife, you know, content and, you know, all of that. And I don't really care about that type of stuff, so honestly I didn't really pay much attention to it, I'm gonna be honest with you. But I did start to get more interested in her after this situation came. And even without knowing anything about her content, I was like, oh yeah, this seems like the usual suspects, same, you know, story, different day. You know what I mean? Like, so I was kind of used to it, because I like look over so many stories like this in general just with this channel. So I was kind of just ready for the smear campaign to happen. I'm surprised they haven't released any tweets yet about her being colorist, or a video or something she said in 2013 on Vine or something when she was in 8th grade. I don't know. You know, she should expect the smear campaign to ramp up if it has not already. I mean, it's damn near international. And just, you know, I'm getting ahead of myself with my talking points. But yeah, this whole notion that, you know, biracial women steal black women's essence or ideas and then take it for themselves and then take the glory and the shine. This is a constant narrative that is used, and like this, like the long suffering black woman, and the black woman is just used for labor, and the biracial woman is held up, you know, as the wife and things. Like, this is a narrative that I know a lot of these women play off of on social media. And I definitely feel like the South African woman was playing on that in a very underhanded way. She wasn't saying it clearly, but she, you know, they always use the dog whistles and the tone, and they know exactly what they're doing. And they're playing on a pre-existing confirmation bias. And that's why I talk about the dangers of like people enforcing these stereotypes and like these ideologies about how mixed people behave and why we do things we do, which are really racial stereotypes. It wouldn't be appropriate to stereotype any other group of people or assume that they're thinking some type of way or doing some type of something, but people do it to mixed and light-skinned people of African descent because of their pre-existing confirmation bias based on stereotypes. So, you know, now this woman's trying to run a whole smear campaign. Fortunately, to Nara Smith, it's not working this time around, but a lot of mixed and light-skinned women are not so lucky. But then moving on, the next example they say is interpreting information to support your existing beliefs. So again, that kind of plays right into what I'm saying. If you already have a certain ideology about a group of people, whether they be part of your ethnicity or race or not, you still have that idea about them. So if you're constantly getting this messagery that mixed women behave a certain way, mixed people think this way, mixed people are trying to race you, mixed people only claim black for the benefits, if you're constantly hearing these ideas and constantly hearing about these negative things that happen in history, that's going to shape how you feel about those people. That's what I'm trying to get at. So it's deeper than just internet trolling. I'm like, this is now really shaping how people, this is going to shape how people view mixed and light-skinned people, even in their day-to-day interactions. And I'm even speaking on this, and I related to what that girl talked about in the video about the mentality of people who have this mentality, because the thought process of the people who have this mentality, because I've had interactions and run-ins with them in my life too. And then the second to last example is only remembering details that uphold your belief. So in this situation, no matter how erratic or nonsensical the example is, these women are running with it. And I'm not trying to stereotype women, but it's mostly women because this is like a girly conversation, let's be real. But the women who are, you know, agreeing with the South African woman, just like the girl said in the TikTok I showed before, they have a certain mindset. So because the South African woman represents a certain mentality or has a certain imagery towards them or storyline for them, that's why they're backing her. So even if her allegation is extremely broad, a lot of people are saying that, you know, she's done this to other people too, and that, you know, it's more beneficial to her because we don't know who this woman is. And also, you know, it's simply not Nara's fault. If she's not monetized in South Africa, that's not that's not Nara's fault. But she's throwing all that in there, like I'm saying, to play off certain people who have certain mentalities, emotions, and to play off their, again, pre-existing biases about women like Nara Smith, who look like Nara Smith, who are in Nara Smith's social class or social ranking and things like that. She's throwing all these little details in there, to play off that. So she knows exactly what she's doing. And then the whole like, oh, Nara Smith is in the United States and I'm over here in long suffering South Africa where I can't get monetization. Okay, that's not Nara Smith's problem. And now I'm finding out that Nara Smith's mother is like a black South African woman or something. Okay, that's definitely not Nara Smith's problem. Maybe if you had been friends with her and were cool with her, not trying to do some underhanded, shady shit, maybe she could have thrown you a bone and y'all could have collaborated or something and made some type of South African food or something, and then that would have generated traffic your direction. Especially if y'all have a similar, vibe or whatever in your opinion, which in my opinion, it seems like y'all don't, because it seems like she's kind of a back to the lander type of vibe, and Nara Smith is like a, I don't even know, the complete opposite. She's mama capitalism, Nara Smith, like, what do you know, like, she represents, like, just, I can't even describe it, but a certain lifestyle that a certain type of woman wants, and that's their business. That's, it is what it is. I'm not judging people who are like the South African woman who want to homestead and grow their own stuff, Neither really life is fully for me or kind of for me at all, I feel like, at this point in my life, but maybe I might feel differently in 5 years, 10 years, whatever. I doubt it. For certain stuff, I would never want to be Mormon, and I definitely would never want to homestead. That's just me. But yeah, I don't judge other women's lifestyles, even though, I have my own political beliefs and things like that. But yeah, if you already have a pre-existing, and I also try not to put my stereotypes and beliefs about certain classes, social classes, economic classes, skin colors, things like that. I try not to, nationalities, religions. I try not to project that or shape how I interact with people and how I'm viewing them. And I just feel like this is a clear example of the ways in which other women from within our own community will use these pre-existing confirmation biases or these stereotypes and see that, we represent something, whether we represent that hood light-skinned chick that's thick and all the dudes in the, all the D-boys want her, either that type of woman or, the woman that's like Nara Smith, that's very classy, very, old money aesthetic type, that represents a different type of archetype of womanhood. If you already have animosity towards those types of women, just the way that they present, that's going to shape how you view them and how you interact with them. And a lot of light-skinned women, we understand that this is something we have to do a lot, and it's really stereotyping. And I just think it's really unfortunate that in 2024 we're still having to deal with this racial typecasting. And it's like, you can have your own feelings about Narsha, about, what's that girl's name? Nara Smith's Mormonness, or how she chooses to live your life. It's not your damn business. But you don't get to try to cancel her and try to look for all these, little ad hominem ways to try to turn people against her. It's just corny and hater shit. And this was a great example of them exposing themselves and exposing what a lot of mixed and light-skinned women have been talking about and have been observing that happens on social media recently. So they're really just exposing themselves when they think they're exposing Nara Smith. It's really funny. And just to wrap up this video, the last point is ignoring information that challenges your belief. So despite the fact that it hasn't been proven that Nara Smith had done anything to this woman or stole from her or anything, but, there are a portion of people who are diehard about her needing to be canceled, and that's because she represents a certain type of person to her that they want to be canceled. And I feel like that's the case for a lot of these mixed and light-skinned women on social media and celebrities that tend to get targeted by these weird, obsessive, narcissistic people who think so many people are checking for them when people really are not. They're really insecure and checking for other people and think other people are checking for them. It's really strange. But yeah, and no matter how many people are making videos saying like, no, this is a reach, this is a drag, these people are going to stand by their mindset because they're defending their ideology. They're defending what Nara Smith represents to them. And like I said, I've had run-ins with these people, and I don't carry myself like Nara Smith or dress like that or anything, I'm very together. I will say I am attractive, so it could be that, but actually present myself very humbly, not in the self-deprecating way that a lot of light-skinned women do, but not in a way that Nara Smith does, where I can understand that just naturally a lot of insecure people, especially in a time like right now where a lot of people are struggling economically, especially a lot of younger people like millennials and Gen Zers, a lot of people are having a hard time, not only relationship wise but just financially. I can understand the animosity towards what a woman like Nara Smith represents. I understand it in the financial realm. Now, I don't necessarily relate to that, even though that's not my aesthetic or my vibe, but I can understand why people wouldn't like that, just speaking from the capitalism side. But unfortunately, when it comes to this situation between Nara Smith and the South African woman, being that this is led by Black women, and shout out to Cerebral because she kind of talked about this too, we know where a lot of this is driven from, and we know that 9 times out of 10 it's not driven from the economic thing, because if Nara Smith was darker and clearly monoracial, I highly doubt this woman would come for her in the same way. Now, we don't know, I don't know, who knows, what do I know, but I'm gonna be honest with you, I don't think this South African woman would have came for her. At least not in the same way, or at least wouldn't have tried to come at her the same way. Maybe she would have said something about it if she was that narcissistic, but in my opinion, I think that she saw that Nara Smith was a good target considering her position, and that she could play a certain role in the situation, and that could possibly play into her benefit. That's just what I suspect, but I don't know. But yeah, I definitely think that, like my good sis said at the end of her TikTok before I wrap my video up, a lot of this is because of the lifestyle and the physical of how Nara Smith presents. She's a biracial woman that married a white man. And not only did she marry a white man, but he's a white Mormon man. And she's living a soft housewife life, just based on what we see on Instagram or social media. We don't know what's really going on. And that's another thing. Y'all are only judging her life based on what she posts on Instagram. Who knows what else is going on. So I'm old enough, and that clearly shows that it's a bunch of teenagers and kids watching her. Because adults know that, I'm sure she lives a lovely life. I'm sure they love each other. I know she actually is rich and living good. But you can't over romanticize everything. Just like, the South African woman over here, like I said, it must be nice living on your own land, but I'm not going to over romanticize that life. I'm not going to glamorize that shit. I don't want to have to be digging up shit at 5 o'clock in the morning because I'm husry. That's not my vibe. Just like I don't want to be having to take care of a bunch of kids like Nara Smith, even if I have on Chanel, and I don't want to have to deal with some, husband with some crazy white supremacist religion, even if he's fine like Nara Smith's husband, fine and rich like Nara Smith's husband. I just don't want that life. I'm not judging, but that's just me. But I'm not weird and obsessive and gonna go on a tangent against Nara Smith because she doesn't represent a lifestyle that I want for myself. But there are people who are that way. But yeah, and then there's a whole thing there with especially within the Black community, where there's a lot of animosity towards people. People have a lot of animosity towards biracial women who get with white men. I don't know what that's about. Actually, I do know what it's about, because we live in a Black man worshiping culture where they feel like all women of African descent are entitled to be turned into baby mamas by Black males. They feel like you should make yourself single and available for a Black male to leave you a single mother whenever he chooses. So you can't be running off to go marry a white man, because then you're making yourself unsexually available to Black males to be able to abuse you. But anyway, so because that's the dusty Black male worshiping culture that we live in, they greatly take issue with biracial women that get with white men. So they're already seeing you as a distrustworthy group of people that they feel like have a shifty background that they have to keep an eye on. They already feel like that. But then when you go get a white man, they look at it as you positioning yourself. And this is true for light-skinned women in general, but it just seems like they have this real vitriolic hatred towards specifically biracial women who get with white men. They view it as like siding with the enemy, or trying to side with people with white people to get rid of to like genetically annihilate Black people. And that seems extreme, and y'all probably think like, damn, Star, like, you took it from 1 to 100 with that comment. No, for a lot of, I'm sorry, obsessive black people who are insecure about their blackness, when they see specifically biracial women, because biracial men, they can be they're like black men. Everybody should be able to be sexually available to them. So it's fine if they go and create a whole bunch of admixed white children. But if a biracial woman goes and do it, that's a problem, because she needs to make herself sexually available to men of African descent at all times. So just like when a fully black woman does it, they look at her as a quote unquote traitor, and like she's trying to breed her blackness out. They look at it the same way with a biracial woman, but they feel even more strongly and even more offended by it when it's a biracial woman, because they know that that child is not black in any sense of the word. See, they can try to do mental gymnastics, especially depending on how the child looks, to make biracial people black. But they cannot do that with a child that's like usually a quadroon, especially, in the Americas, where these kids clearly present as white. So that's really where that insecurity and that issue comes from. I don't know if people would feel the same. I was going to say, I don't know if they feel the same way about her if she was a bit of black man, but at the same time, it would go both ways. In some regards, black women would be able to relate to her and would actually like that in some regard, because in my opinion, even though I noticed that there also is a lot of vitriol towards light-skinned and biracial women who are with brown skin and dark skin black men also, at the same time, I feel like there's a relatability factor there. So you are embraced more, because as a black woman who has always dated outside of my race, I do feel like light-skinned and biracial women who are black men worshippers are way more accepted than me and other black women who interracially date. And even date light-skinned men, they don't even like that shit. So anyway, I do feel like that would have given her somewhat of a layer of protection, and that part of the vitriol that's coming from the black community, especially a lot of these undesirable mammies that are like woke and very earthy, and that are already automatically not going to like Nara because of the capitalist vibe that she has. A lot of those women, because they're black men worshippers and they have the same ideology as black men, that is why they would have that perspective towards Nara, because she's with a white man. So even though they'd, cry and complain about her benefiting from the isms, if she was with a black man, the fact that she's with a white man, that triggers them in a different way. So I also wanted to point that out, because I feel like that's a big part of this. But anyway, get in the comment section. Let me know what y'all thought about this video. If you see where I'm coming from, have you heard about the concept of confirmation bias before? And do you feel like it has affected you in your life, no matter what your skin tone or race is? Thanks for the support. Bye-bye.